to make a good paramedic, obviously, from our situation we were in, and which paramedics will find other people trapped in cars, trapped somewhere, is to be honest is number one. Honesty, I can't get through to people how important honesty is when it's a life and death situation. You've got to tell it how it is. It may, because if they don't, it's the scars that are left when you come out are the hardest ones to heal. But if this honesty's been put through the whole time, you don't come out with any of those scars. You don't come out with the wondering, oh, is everybody lying to me? You don't know what to believe. It's a mind over matter. The mind's a big, powerful tool, and one thing's the body. The mind is a completely different tool, but the mind, we have such a big problem now with mental illness. And it takes so many forms, so many shapes. Acquired brain injuries are horrific. There's so many that are slipping through the gaps, in society. And paramedics are the front line, on the first line of defence when it comes to that, out of any situation that they come across. That's the front line for them. So what they do at the start ultimately comes back at the end. It builds confidence. Honesty builds confidence. Even if it's not what you want to hear, you can come to grips with it. Instead of it being a shocking blow, it's just a ramp-up effect. So, it's in confidence is the key to any success, because if you want the people to come out, strong with their vitals and everything else, they've got to have the headspace for it. People lose the will to live, and you see that all the time in all different aspects, where people and animals lose the will to live, and the paramedic is the one there to keep your mind up, to keep your will alive. So if you lose that, well, you can slip away very quickly.
Just touching on what Brant said, in the first, instances when the paramedics were involved with both Brant and I, obviously they were told by the rescuers, not to give us a real lot of information on what was going on. And obviously, the trust wasn't there to start off with both Brant, myself and the paramedics. It wasn't until we sat down and we actually spoke personally with the paramedics and obviously to the rescuers, we wanted to know what was going on. And basically, once we set them ground rules, everything from there on was fantastic. They never held nothing back from us. Everything we wanted to know about our well-being. Yep. They were continuously asking how our well-being was, how our wounds were. We had, obviously taking our temperature and everything like that. They had medications that we had to take on a daily basis. We had to inject ourselves daily for deep vein thrombosis. So they had to oversee all that just by talking to us on the telephone. They could see what we were doing because of the TV camera that was set up inside that small area. But the only communication they could have was, via telephone.
You only have to be crossed once in a situation like that, and then you won't respect the other party, and respect's got a lot to do with it too, And the way that they gave their stories and when we were asking them about their lives and how many kids have you got, and all they're doing is trying to get your mind off a situation, but which was fantastic in one way, but in another way you just wanted to say go home and tell my family, which you didn't really want to put on people like that. So
the main thing that both Brant and I did first off is we built a relationship with the paramedics. Obviously, in the first instance, we only knew the paramedics by name.
Yep.
So basically, they had their ID tags. Mm-hmm. So we asked each of the paramedics who were in charge of both Brant and I for that period of time that, whoever was on day shift or whoever was on night shift, that their identification tag was actually sent through to both Brant and I. Okay. And we actually had that so that we knew we had a face to who we were talking to. And by building that relationship worked really well too, just knowing who we were talking to, not just a voice.
I mean, after the event, they had a lot of debriefing after our event. Obviously, they had to have a lot of debriefing through the event and after the event, because if we were to die, they'd build a relationship. It's the first thing in rescue is you never have anyone that knows that person because of the effect it's going to have on that person if anything goes wrong.
Well, we had no communication with anybody for the first 6 days, and that was really hard. Apart from both of us talking to each other and whatever, that was the only communication.
When the machines would take off, like if they had another seismic event, they'd take off, and it was the loneliest feeling you could ever get. Was being down there, and you're thinking, geez, I hope one of those rescuers haven't died. They're not going to come back for us. Because the major rule in rescue is everyone comes out the same as they went in. So, to lose one rescuer would have been sort of the end of us for a long time.
Would have made it a lot worse.
Indeed.